Hi, and welcome to another installment of Fundamentals of Effective Grant Writing. This week, we're going to talk about creating your biographical sketch. And so, it makes sense to start with the first question: what is a biographical sketch and why is it important? So, reviewers use the information in the biosketch to score the investigator or investigators' core review criterion. They're going to be asked to evaluate the following: if the PI and the collaborators are well suited to the project, if the individual has appropriate experience and training, so that's more applicable to early career investigators, and if the individual has a record of having advanced their field. So that would be for established investigators. So it's important to keep in mind this is not a CV, it's a narrative that supports the proposal. The format of the biographical sketch is really determined now by using a tool called ScienceCV, stands for Science Experts Network Curriculum Vitae. And so you can use that, and you need to use that as of May 2025 in order to prepare your biosketch. This ensures that the biosketch is in the correct format. And there's a tutorial in the slide notes that I will link in the video notes. All right, so the first part of the biosketch is your education and training. So you'll begin with your baccalaureate degree and conclude with your postdoctoral training. So you want to put your postdoctoral training here and not in the positions and scientific appointments section later. So you can see here's an example of my education training table. It starts with my BA and ends with my postdoc. All right, so the personal statement. This is where you convey to the reviewers the feasibility of the project in your hands and those of your assembled team of collaborators. So you want to avoid self-aggrandizement and subjective appraisals of yourself here. You want to state objective facts instead that will inform reviewers why you and your team are qualified and prepared to take on the project. The text should all fit in the first page, so you have to balance brevity with being comprehensive. And just basically zeroing in on why is this person needed for the project to succeed. If you have collaborators, consider drafting the statement for them in order to increase the cohesiveness of the proposal and to save time. You want to include their role in the project, why they're qualified, which you can get from their education and training, and why they're prepared based on their experience. And all of the statements need to be written in first person singular. All right, so you can see an example of my personal statement here. Feel free to pause the video and read through the personal statement. As you can see, I start with what my expertise is. I talk about some objective things that qualify me for this proposal, to run this proposal. Having run my own research program, being continuously funded, a strong track record of securing funding to support my research, leading teams of researchers on funded projects. So I am not bragging, but I'm just stating facts that make me qualified to be a PI on this grant. And then zeroing in at the end of the statement, really tailoring the statement to the current project. All right, so some information you might also want to include in the personal statement include early stage investigator, if that's applicable to you, relevant technical skills that you have that can help with the execution of the uh, the project, the role, if any, in generating the preliminary data in the proposal. So this is where you can talk, if you have a collaborator who generated preliminary data, you'll want them to mention that in their personal statement. If members of the team have published together, that's important to mention because that establishes that there's been a successful collaboration already put into place. If you are a mentor or a sponsor, or if you yourself are being mentored in a K award, then these applications should note the mentor's mentoring track record. You also have an opportunity to explain any breaks in productivity. So common examples would be if there was a birth of a child, illness, etc., that made you not as productive as you would have been otherwise. And then at the very end of your personal statement, you can list up to 4 publications or research products. So what is a research product, by the way? There's a lot of confusion about what constitutes a research product. The gold standard, of course, is the peer-reviewed publication. But don't disregard preprints. If you have any preprints out there that haven't been published yet, that are kind of in that limbo of having already been submitted but not accepted for publication yet, it's perfectly fine and encouraged to include the preprint as a research product. You could also but not recommended. You could include meeting abstracts, posters, and other presentations. This is more commonly seen in training proposals where you have somebody who's very junior, who hasn't had a chance to accumulate peer-reviewed publications yet. Now, what do you do with the submitted manuscript? That cannot be listed here, but you can talk about it in the text of the personal statement and make sure you do. All right, so positions and scientific appointments. This is where you list all current and previous positions since your postdoc in reverse chronological order. ScienceEV will do that for you. It'll put it in order for you. You want to include professional memberships, editorial positions, study section membership, even if you were ad hoc. And so you can see an example here of my position scientific appointments. And I'll get to honors in a second. Yeah, here. So here's where you can list awards that you've received throughout your career, including awards in graduate school or postdoc. You can go back further if you want, but probably should focus on graduate school and postdoc. Here's the place where you can put your fellowships that you've received. If you've received a GRFP from NSF or F31 or F32 from NIH, you can list that here. And you see that's what I did. I listed my F32. All right, contributions to science. So this section is just as important as a personal statement as a source of information that reviewers will use to score you as an investigator. Here you want to list up to 5 contributions. Each contribution has to have the historical background that frames the scientific problem, the central findings, the influence of the findings on scientific progress, health, or technology. In other words, what problem did it solve? And then your specific role in the described work. So a common mistake is to leave out one or more of these 4 components. And it's really important to put the influence on scientific progress, health, or technology. So that you demonstrate that this was not just something that you did, but a way that you advanced the field. Include an interesting title for each contribution. That's not required, but it's recommended. And then you can include up to 4 research products for each contribution. So products can be a little bit more broad here. They can include things like patents, databases, instruments or equipment, models, protocols, and software, but be aware that reviewers are most comfortable evaluating publications. All right, so here's an example from my Biosketch showing one of the contributions to science that I have. You can see that I've listed 4 peer-reviewed publications after I've described the problem, the findings, my role, and the relevance to memory-related disorders and such as Alzheimer's disease and schizophrenia. All right, so some common mistakes that we see. Not following instructions. This is one of the common mistakes for pretty much everything, including URLs. Now you're only allowed to link your list of publications and nothing else. No other URLs can be in your Biosketch. Really common is not tailoring the Biosketch to the specific project. So you cannot have a generic Biosketch that you submit for all your proposals. Each Biosketch, especially the personal statement, the very end of the personal statement should be tailored to the specific project. And make sure you tell your collaborators to tailor the Biosketch to the specific project. Don't wait till the last minute to work on the Biosketch. It takes longer than you think it's going to because you have to not only learn and learn how to interact with the Science EB tool if you've never done that before, but you also have to really take some time to uh, craft the sections of the Biosketch, especially the contributions to science and the personal statement. Okay, so that is a brief overview of a biosketch. If you have any questions, I'm sure you do, please feel free to reach out to me.